welcome to the Deadline Studio at the Cannes Film Festival. We are with the director Tarik Saleh, whose film is premiering in competition. It is Eagles of the Republic. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
This film is very much set in the present day. It's about Egypt and, in certain respects, about the current leader of Egypt, Abdel Fattah El-Sisi. But here the scenario is there's a famous actor, kind of Egypt's most famous actor, who was then kind of forced to play El-Sisi in a film. But talk to us about this, the kind of scenario here in Eagles of the Republic.
Yeah, when you hear the premise of the film as you describe it, you would think that it's a satire. Very unfortunately, it's not.
Right, like the death of Stalin, for instance.
Yeah,
it's not that
it's
mode.
absolutely not. And I was inspired by something that actually happened. So the last time I was in Cannes with Cairo Conspiracy, I was actually talking to Faris about the TV series I was watching, an Egyptian TV series that was produced by the army, which is called Al-Ikhtiyar, which means the choice. And it's about El-Sisi's rise to power. And the star of that TV show, his name is Yasser Galal. He's one of Egypt's most popular actors, very tall, handsome guy. And everyone knows that El-Sisi is 166. I don't know what that is in American measurement, but like...
Not tall, not super tall.
It's like us, basically, or even shorter, And so it's just, and he's bold like me. And we were joking, and I was saying, just imagine we were living in Egypt and we were forced to do this, And then I started thinking about it, and I was thinking about the situation we are in as filmmakers, where I was sort of, starting to imagine the whole story just sort of rolled up on me. And for me, I think that I feel very connected to my heroes like Billy Wilder and Lang and these filmmakers who came from Europe, had experienced the horrors of the Second World War. And they came to America to find a free haven, to make genre films. But of course, they brought the DNA of the darkness that they had witnessed, right? And I see myself sort of related to that kind of filmmaking, where I'm like using genre to discuss something that I think is important about humanity.
You mentioned Ferris. This is the star of your film. He plays George Fahmy, who is the pharaoh of the cinema. So he's used to having a certain amount of power, but then he runs up against a greater power, which is the military power, and finds himself, basically there's like a vice grip pinning him down. But while he would like to be, sort of cling to a certain moral code, in some ways we find out he's not a terribly moral man in his private life.
No, absolutely not. Like, he is a professional liar. He's very good at it. Like some other actors I know, it's very, no, but he's not lying. Most of the time he's lying to try to protect people he loves. But, the problem with lies is that they tend to sort of pile up and then ultimately break you.
There's a fascinating character in the film, Dr. Mansour, who is sort of an éminence grise, like a Richelieu, who is behind and he's basically keeping a very close eye on this production. And what's so fascinating about him, he's a very intimidating character, but he's a truth teller.
Oh yeah, I love that. I love that you actually observed that, because for me, of course, and I'm, he is the director. He's the true director of the movie, right? So the film is a little bit sort of a conversation about the director and an actor and how they work together, And so I identify very strongly with Dr. Mansour. I don't use his methods when I direct because some of his methods are very, very unconventional and sometimes a little bit rough.
Intimidating, for sure. I mean, he's maybe about 1.66 meters as well, but boy, he fills a room. He's kind of a scary guy, and basically lets Faris's character know who's in charge. Certainly, there's no doubt about that. What was it like for you to be able to work with Egyptian actors? And I wonder if any of them were hesitant to be in a film which, while we've been discussing, it's not a satire, it's not flattering, certainly, to El-Sisi.
You know, I've built a reputation with my two first films, which is it's very helpful because I don't have to give them the spell, you know, as going into this. They know what they're getting into, you know. So it's a quick yes or no. Uh, you know, and a lot of Egyptian actors, they are like most artists, they are longing for freedom. And so I was surprised to have those amazing Egyptian actors sign on. Amr Wakid is, of course, a persona non grata like myself. He left the country the same year as I did, you know, which was 2015, and has never been back ever since.
Right, and it's interesting. I was reading about Hosni Mubarak, the former president who was in power for about 30 years after Sadat. Now, he apparently allowed people to kind of joke about him a little bit. El-Sisi is rather thin-skinned and doesn't allow that, which perhaps speaks to his insecurity.
I think that's exactly right. That Hosni Mubarak, he would hold a speech twice a year. El-Sisi holds speeches every week, you know, and that tells you that there is an inflation going on in terms of his strong grip. I think that also, to be fair to El-Sisi, is he's in a very tough situation, tough spot. He's trying to juggle between different superpowers and different interests. And Egypt have always served several masters. And a lot of times sort of balanced that thin line. So we know like El-Sisi attended the victory parade in Moscow the other week. And at the same time, he's being handed awards by the Danish king, and he was here in France receiving the cross. So it's interesting. There's a lot of people, a lot of suitors who wants to be his friend. And I don't know what it is he's promising them. If it is sort of promising them no African refugees to Europe, or what it is that he has on his hand. But one thing is for sure, the Egyptian people is not happy because the inflation is high, economy is horrible, and he knows he needs to deliver soon. And it's a problem because the army has 30% of the country's economy. You know, they're doing everything else but to fight wars.
Like salaries and whatnot.
No. It's
Oh,
much more.
controlling the
No. It's
economy.
agriculture. It's factories. They have a company, a private company called the United, which runs now the film industry. It has private TV channels, and so the army does everything except fighting.
Interesting. Under Abdel Nasser, Egypt had an extraordinary cinematic tradition, one of the greatest in the world. And I think your film sort of reflects on how that can go away, how that can be strangled, while the certain, you know, ideology and keeping certain people in power is deemed far more important than artistic integrity and independence.
It is very difficult, and I think that, you know, when I did the Nile Hilton incident, the first film in this trilogy, we had premiere at Sundance the day when Donald Trump was inaugurated the first time. And it was quite a special screening for me because I didn't do that film to tell Americans what it would be like to live with a leader who is vain and who is thin-skinned. This time, I wasn't expecting this film to come out after his first 100 days and when he has ideas about Hollywood and things like that. I think ultimately, I believe in cinema, and I'm an optimist. I believe in the artistic community. I think we are stronger than most politicians are. So I don't, you know, I love film noir, so I cannot have a really happy ending in any of my films. But I will say that I believe in cinema, and I think that art prevails and it sort of wins in the end. because politics change. You know, it's very like today's politic is going to be tomorrow's joke. You know, or embarrassment. So, but with great art, it ages well.
Well, that gives us hope, all of us here, and it's a really extraordinary film, Eagles of the Republic. We've been joined by the director, Tarik Saleh. Thank you so much, and congratulations on premiering in competition here.
Thank you so much for speaking with me.